Yeah, so I started Taekwondo first when I was about 7, and before that, my dad used to watch a lot of martial art movies and
Van
Van Damme and Best of the Best and things like that. And I think he used to watch a lot of like On Bank and movies like that. So I first started. He was looking for a martial art or boxing or some sort of combat sport. I think we initially were looking at boxing. Then he contacted a few boxing places, and then I think I used to be quite interested in martial arts too, watching the movies with
Just
him.
from the movie.
So I wanted to do something a bit more traditional. So we found a place in Thurcroft called Ox Martial Arts, and then I started with Taekwondo first when I was 7. That's run by Paul Oxtoby, and he's quite well known in the Taekwondo scene. He's fought internationally. He's quite well versed in kickboxing too.
Has he fought kickboxing?
Yeah, he's fought above the waist, because I think when he was fighting there wasn't really K1. There was just full contact, and he learnt off Phil Glover, so he's got like a rich martial arts history.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's got a rich history in martial arts. So I started with that initially, and then now, fast forward 14 years or plus, now I'm doing K1.
So when did you transition to kickboxing?
I transitioned about 9 years old, roughly. Initially, we were looking at different places, but we realised that Paul does classes for like freestyle kickboxing. It's more traditional kickboxing above the waist, no leg kicks, no knees. And that class was on Wednesday, but it was a senior class. And at that time, I must have been, like I said, 9 or 10. And I think at the start was 13 or 14. But Paul was happy to let me in the seniors class. And that helped a lot, I think, with training with a lot older people. And at that time, I was quite quiet and I wasn't too talkative. So it helped learning off, like older people in the class.
Opening up a little bit.
Yeah, opening up a little bit, and obviously if you're training with older people, you'll be learning the technique a lot better than when you're with kids, and it really helped with my martial art journey.
Did you ever compete in Taekwondo before?
Yeah, I competed. I must have about 10 fights roughly, I'd say, maybe, in a Taekwondo. The first one I had, actually, I think I was about 8, so a year in, and I remember I was like a yellow belt, which is like the second belt you can get, and it was in Rotherham as well, the competition, at some leisure centre. And the first fight, I didn't stop kicking. I just from first round to third round, I was just throwing kicks left, right.
Were you any nervous like before the fight?
I can't remember, to be honest with you. I don't think I was too like nervous. I had another teammate at the time, and he I think he was similar age of me, and he competed as well that day. And I won that first fight, and it was a good feeling, especially like the first fight you have. A win always like cements it, like, oh, this is something I want to do. And
you're actually good at something that you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And
so did you get right back in there straight away?
I think throughout the next couple of years, I did have a couple of competitions here and there. I wasn't too overly excited about competing. At the time, I didn't really like it. I enjoyed sparring, but I didn't enjoy competing too much. But it was a way to test myself and see how comfortable I can get. And plus, in Taekwondo, you wear that body armor, and then you wear like shin pads.
Was it the idea of like just violence and getting hit that you didn't like?
Yeah, I don't, even now, I don't like getting hit.
Yeah, and you shouldn't get hit.
Yeah, you shouldn't get hit, but I prefer like the IQ game and trying to move and not get hit. That really intrigues me, and that's like the part of fighting that I'm really interested by. I just want to learn the best ways to hit and not get hit, move around, and keep opponents at bay. And Taekwondo is a really good introduction to kick K1 now, to be fair, because there's a lot of things that I do now that I take from back then.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell just by watching you that you've done a bit of Taekwondo before.
Yeah.
Like, even if I didn't know you or anything like that. But so when you transitioned to kickboxing, you obviously fought above weight kickboxing.
Yeah.
And you said that you wasn't really in it because of the violence. You approached it more like a sport.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you started fighting with knees and leg kicks? Because it's different. When you have the pads on and you just kick into the body, it's not... I mean, they used to have this rule, I don't know if they still have it, in above weights, where you had to kick 6 times in a round.
Yeah, they used to have a rule, yeah.
And a lot of people just flick up those kicks and they just get in there with the boxing.
Yeah.
So how did you find that transition? Did you find it more difficult when you started fighting K1 rules?
So originally, I I did like continuous, so it was limited power, so you couldn't really hit
Like
too hard.
yes.
And that was just volume really. It was whoever threw the most one. So when I moved to, after that I did a couple above the waist. And then to move to K1, it was a big jump, I'd say, because I don't know if you remember from back in the days, because I think we know each other about 7 years now. So, but when I first started, I was getting my legs kicked, and I just didn't know the stance, because I used to be side on a lot, and
ready to stick out a
side kick, or just like rush in with a 1-2, and I never planted my feet or never really learned. My hands weren't really the best. All I really had was kicks and like a bit of footwork. So it was quite difficult to adjust with getting like hit with leg kicks, and the power was different, of course, and it was quite a big jump.
And when did you have your first? How old were you when you did it?
The first K1 fight.
The first K1 fight.
I was 14, and it was.
That was not the one in the cage, was it?
No. That was a couple after. The first one was against a kid from Manchester called Huey Turner.
Okay.
He was from I forgot what exact gym he was from. But it was his first fight as well, K1 fight, and he had similar experience to me with mat competitions and full contact, so it was a really good first fight. It wasn't like a pushover or someone that you can win in the first round, and I remember going into that quite confident, and if you watch the fight back, I didn't look like it was like my first K1 fight in there. I moved around quite well. But I showed a lot of good Taekwondo techniques in that fight.
Because even till this day, you don't really mind the idea of just jumping in there if it's a last-minute fight or whatever, even if it's above waist.
Yeah.
Because you obviously have the kicks covered, so you and you don't have to worry so much about getting your legs kicked in all the time.
Yeah.
But you made a massive transition, because obviously we train together every day, and you went from having this very traditional Taekwondo style with your punches being flary, but not really. You wasn't really sitting on your punches. Now your boxing is improved massively.
Yeah.
You've still got your Taekwondo kicks, but on top of that, now you know how to knee and leg kick. Your movement is way better. So it's almost like the Taekwondo kind of filled in half of your skill there already. The kickboxing just had to fill the other half to make you a complete fighter.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you still train Taekwondo till this day?
Yeah, I still train Taekwondo as much as I can. It gets a bit difficult here and there, like growing up and having like work and having fights and trying to get, your conditioning in and all sorts. But I try my best to get in there. I normally try to go once a week. But if not, we still practice a lot of Taekwondo kicks and a lot of kicks in our gym anyway, so it helps still doing that at the gym. And then when I do go down there, it's always good, because I started with Paul, like I said, about 14 years ago, and like you see different people come and you see the people that stay in and still come week to week.
You still see people really well.
There's still quite a few people that are there from when I first started, so it's good to see them still competing or training. And then it's good to see like the young generation come in and like look at them and think, oh, that was me like 14 years ago. And
when you won the belt, did you take it to the gym and show?
Yeah, I went down on the Wednesday session and showed everybody. And like I said, majority of people that were in the room were still there from a long time. There's a lot of people at Ox Martial Arts that helped me a lot with training. And like I said, when I first started, I was like 9-10 years old in adults class. There was guys like Mikey. He competed a lot in
he's still there
contact.
Well.
He's still there. He even fought on Clash of the Titans, which is a big show that Bob Syke does.
Yes.
I don't think he's done that in a while, but I think Shab Akhtar used to fight on that. So it has like a lot of history, that show. But it was good training with him, because he's like 5 years older maybe, and like when I'm young, it's good to build confidence, sparring with older people and getting used to getting hit, which was a big thing that I had to like look past, because I used to like put my head down or turn to the side. I wouldn't like look while I was getting hit or look at my opponent too much.
I think what would be really interesting is for me to understand what you had to do to go from like being a white belt to a second dan black belt in Taekwondo, because the form of Taekwondo you do, does it also involve katas and all the traditional side of martial arts that you have to go through to get
so overall, it's quite similar to a kickboxing grading.
Mm.
The only thing that's added would be, like you said, kata or forms, and it's just learning certain techniques and certain sequences, and it's just to show your technique really, how good it is and how well it flows along with things. So there'll be a couple of blocks in the punches, kicks. With Taekwondo, there's no punches to the face, it's just to the body.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that's added onto it. Everything else is the same. You'll have sparring, you'll do pad work, etc., and like lining up and doing some kicks down the hole, showing forms again.
And how many years did you do before you became black belt? Your first?
I think I must have got my first belt when I was about 14, 15, so 7-8 years. Paul is a very good instructor, and he's really not lenient with giving belts. Like, he wouldn't give belts to anyone.
Yeah.
And it was quite difficult, I remember, because at the time, I think I must have done my black belt with someone else. I think it was a girl called Winnie, if I remember correctly. I think we did it at the same time.
Yeah.
But it helps when you're with someone to do it, because it kind of, you know that someone else is there with you trying to...
Pushing each other,
trying to get to your goal. But it was nerve-wracking. I struggle with nerves when it comes to gradings or things like that. But when it comes to fighting, I don't really feel the nerves until I'm right at the back. So like, even now I'm fighting in 3 weeks, I don't really feel much pressure.
Yeah.
It's in the hometown and everything like that. But it's just until I get right back in the backstage, that's when I feel the nerves. But
you should feel nervous.
Yeah, you should feel nervous before a fight. If you don't feel nervous, then there's something wrong with you.
You're probably half asleep.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be
Even
there.
Mike Tyson, all the best fighters, they feel extremely nervous, or either leading up to the fight or right before the fight. So yeah, you definitely got to feel nervous, and it helps.
So, because I remember when I had my first fight, I was saying this to Hadiki yesterday on the podcast, I was so nervous that I didn't feel any nerves because it was so foreign to me. I didn't know what it would be like. So I just had a form of excitement.
Yeah.
When I got to the event, and on the way there, I started to feel this foreign feeling. I was like, "What is this? This is so weird." I went to the changing rooms and I started seeing people smash the pads, and they're calling your name and all stuff. I felt so nervous.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that kind of makes you a better fighter when you start a little bit early, because you understand those nerves at the early stage in your life.
Definitely.
It's when you get nervous at the back, like you said, everyone gets nervous in the backstage. It's just about finding ways to manage that. There is no way in hell you could teach yourself not to get nervous. You're always going to get nervous, but you have to face that fear. So now you said you have a fight coming up in 3 weeks, and you're fighting on the road to Muay Thai Grand Prix, which is a pretty prestige event.
Yeah.
You fight alongside your teammate Abu Bakr. Everybody knows him as a demon. How's your training been going for that fight?
Yeah, it's been going good. Obviously there was Ramadan in between that. It didn't really impact it too much. We still trained, broke fast at the gym, tried training outside that. We had Seth's gym in Rotherham as well to go down to. They opened after fasting hours. So
shout goes out to Safe.
Shout out to
He's
Safe.
very welcoming, and it's nice that you guys are really close and you could get to do some extra sessions there when you need to.
Yeah, the good thing is like I didn't know Safe before. I only literally met him through like martial arts really, because he opened that boxing gym.
Yeah.
And he's been really nice to all the Axon guys. He lets us come in whenever. He doesn't have a problem with us training there, or any time that we had to come in, he helps us a lot with that. Yeah,
I mean, me and Saif go way back. I've known him since I was 16. We went to the same college, so it was really nice to see that. He's done something with the gym, and he's continuously growing, and he's got some killers out there. Last time I went to see the kids spar, it was like, woof.
The kids are really good, honestly, really good. And he's
got like an army of them, so it must be very hard to manage. He's
got a lot of kids. He's very strict with them as well, and which is good, because then like he's installing good discipline in them. Yeah, and inshallah he'll have some good champions coming out of that gym. He's already got I think 2 area champions.
That's nice.
And and to say that hasn't been open for that long, he's already competing with amateur gyms like Ingalls and Steel City, and
it could only get better, because it seems like he's got a good philosophy in place.
Yeah, but to go back to the training for the fight, we had different places that we could go down to. We had even Mark, who does the boxing classes at our gym, he's happy to let us come in earlier to train. So there's a lot of flexibility with the training camp this time around.
Yeah, you seem. I mean, like I said, we train together every day. You seem like you're ready to go now. To be honest, and I think it's going to be a good fight because I watched the kid fight on YouTube, and I think he's got. He's pretty strong. Yeah, he puts pressure on. He comes forward, so it should be interesting. It should be good to watch.
Yeah, definitely. But I think every fighter I've fought, they either do the same thing really, because I think they see from my style, I don't look like I hit too hard. Yeah. But I don't think I'm a knockout artist at all. Yeah. But I've got decent power. Obviously, quite a big lad. I fight between like 78 to like 81. I think I fought 83 and even 85 at times.
That was after you came back from the States.
After I came back from the States, I was about 90 kg.
90 kg,
maybe even more. And I was trying to get the weight down. And I literally went for 2 weeks, and I went from like 80, 81, 82 to 90.
What were you eating out there? Those massive burgers?
Yeah, just massive burgers, gyros, and like here, you ask for like a medium. It actually is a medium. You ask for a medium there, it's like an extra large. So
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I think the first fight back from that, I was like 85. I felt a little slow, but I still got the job done, got the win. Then I think I fought 83 and then 81, and then my last fight has been at 78, which I think is probably the ideal weight for me.
That's the lowest you fought so far?
That's the lowest I fought as an adult, it was a good way. I think I was quite light on my feet. It helped move around, but I didn't think I missed out on my power or lost any of my strength.
Where would your ideal weight class be?
I would say if I could, and I think we have to trial it a bit to see, but I think potentially seeing if we can get to 75. Yeah. I think there could be some obviously weight cut involved, like with water cutting, but as long as it's not too much like kg to water cut, I think it'll be fine. But we can trial it out and see. But I think 78, from what I know of, and competing at that weight as well, is probably the most ideal weight for me. But I don't mind, like you said, I'm happy to fight at 80, 81, 83. Yeah, maybe not 85, but 83 probably max.
Yeah, I think it just depends what kind of fight is offered.
Yeah, it depends on the fighter, because there could be a guy at 83, 85 who's cutting from 90 and he's already quite big. So what helps is I'm quite tall anyway. I'm about 6'3", and I like 78 kg, or 80 kg. I'm probably one of the tallest. The only person I thought was taller than me was this kid called Ross from Scotland, and that was one of my junior fights. You were in my corner, I think, as well. That was for the ISK British title, and that was a real wake up call, because going into that fight, all I was doing was kickboxing training, no conditioning training. Like, not really working out on a game plan. It was just training, and it wasn't even like 5-6 times a week. It was maybe 3-4. So going into that, I did quite well. Lost, I think it was split decision, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and you started off very strong, and then towards the end, you just kind of faded. Because, again, conditioning didn't really have that kind of.
And it was my first 5-round fight. Again, nerves. I didn't feel too nervous in that. I did feel some nerves. Obviously, it was a big fight. But conditioning was a big part, because after the 3rd round, I was only used to doing 3 rounds. When I went to the 4th, I was kind of lost. I didn't really know what I was doing. And if I remember correctly, I even asked you what round are we at in one of the fights. I think I've done that a couple of times now. I think I've had like maybe... I've had about 3 5-round fights, and I think at least 2 of them I've asked you what round are we in. I might have done it in my last one as well.
You did it in your last one, but you've done it when you performed really well too. I think you just get lost in just the fight.
And you don't care too much. You know what it is? I fight, but I look at it logically as well. I try to know like what round I'm in, what am I missing out, where do I need to pick up the pace. I think just knowing what type of fight you're in, and you're an honest coach as well. You'll tell us if we come back to the corner, you tell us if you're slacking, if you need to pick up the pace, and that helps, because if you have like a bit of a delusional coach who's telling you you're just winning the rounds, you don't want that. You're not going out and performing your best.
Yeah, but it's really good what you said, because you definitely do need to have to work with your coach. He can't be the only one breaking everything down for you in there. You have to have some sort of input in what you need to do. So if you're basically losing in the 1st round, and you're noticing that you're getting hit with leg kicks the whole time, for example, you want to come back and you want to like assess a little bit. Like we'll speak about it. We'll say this is what's happening. You go back. You try to assess your situation as well. I think some fighters, you could trust your coach, and is one thing that everybody should do if you have a good coach and you work well with your coach. And if you don't trust your coach, you should not train with that coach, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But there's also have to be that element of responsibility on the fighter to like you said, want to keep up with the rounds. You know, being aware of you applying a bit of IQ in the fight, not just blindly going in there, just swinging.
There's only so much that a coach can do leading up to the fight, and in the fight, the rest is just on the fighter to push and perform. And if you, like you said, if you got a good coach and you trust your coach, then you shouldn't worry about matchmaking or wherever you're fighting, what weight you're fighting. If you told me I fight best at 80, I'll fight best at 80. Yeah. I just take fights there. Yeah. But definitely trusting your coach is a big key.
But it's also interesting between us now because you're also a coach now, so you coach as well. So you already bring that element of coaching to it as well. So when I'm having conversations with you about your fights, it's not so much that it's a coach talking to a fighter, as a coach talking to a fighter who's also a coach. Yeah. So we kind of bounce off ideas of each other, and you know you have plenty years of experience. You've been there so many times. It's almost like I learn from you and you learn from me, and that's what's really nice about it. One of the things I was really interested, because I don't think I've ever asked you this, but I could probably guess. What is your favorite technique?
I'm torn. I'd say there's two, and they're quite similar. But it'd be spinning back kick or turning back kick, and spinning hook kick. Were you thinking of any of them, or was it a different one?
I was thinking of the left high kick.
Left high kick. Yeah. When it comes to practicality and what I land the most, it'd be left high kick. But like landing a spinning back kick or a spinning hook kick is just a different type of feeling, because it's a head kick. Everyone can almost land. But them techniques are quite difficult, especially the turning back kick. A lot of people spin into it because of the name sometimes called spinning back kick, but it's more of a turn. But landing that is one of the best things you can do, because everyone expects things to the head, and when you land a tough spinning back kick, it generates a lot of power, and if you hit someone to the body, they'll be struggling in the fight. And
you landed a really nice one in your last fight.
It was a jumping back kick. It was good to land, because I think, you know, when you fight, there's an element of, you know, winning the rounds and getting up the volume and scoring, but if you're not landing flashy kicks, then I'm more of an entertainer, to be fair. I like to entertain the crowd. I wouldn't really say I'm a fighter. I would say I'm more of a martial artist, and I just use fighting to like test myself and
to display your skills.
See if you can land it in a fight. See if you can do it in competition. And being able to land this jumping back kick, you know yourself as a fighter, is very difficult. Even like 360s, spinning hook kicks, they're all hard to land. But I prefer landing something to the body, like a kick like that. It just kind of shows like where you are in the fight, and it'll hurt the opponent, but the opponent will try not to show it, but you can kind of break them down with body shots like that.
It's also a mental game as well. You know, if you're both exhausted and someone's just throwing a spinning back kick that lands on you, you might start thinking he still has the energy to generate that power and stuff like that. Definitely. And also the crowd is just like, whoa, that just happened. And that's exactly what you did in your last fight.
And I think...
Did you do in the fourth round or the fifth round? It was quite late.
Yeah, it was quite late. It must have been like fourth. It must have been like the fourth round or something like that. But... it's always good to land shots like that, because in my weight class there isn't many flashy kickers, or you rarely get like you know, a high paced fight. It's more of a bit of a slugfest. The fighters in my weight, they either hit hard and they're quite short and stocky, or they're tall and they just, you know, work on work rate and stuff like that. So it's good to kind of be like the odd one out in your division, throwing, you know, fancy kicks and spinning kicks and all sorts of kind of. And even like people in the crowd, like we've bumped into a few people at different shows, and they always say, "Oh,
you're a high kick
kid from that July fight, that title fight."
Yeah, that was a really nice kick. You kicked him, walked back a little bit, and he just
that fight was a difficult one. It was like going. I think the head kick was in the third round, and it was a 5-round title fight. And the first 2 rounds, I think you remember as well, like it was difficult to kind of like get past his teep, and he was a bit more of a tire fighter. It was from
the July fight
last year, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, he was a strong Thai kid. I couldn't really bully him.
He was in really good shape.
Yeah, he was in really good shape. I think he was undefeated going into that as well.
He was.
It was hard to kind of, you know, fight at my own pace and he was really controlling the fight leading up to the second, and then the third I woke up a bit, throwing some more combos, and then eventually got that head kick, and then after that it was.
I mean, the setup was great.
The setup was good.
Was it 3 punches and 1 high kick?
Yeah, I switched stances a lot. I'm normally a southpaw, but I went into orthodox. I think I threw a jab cross, and I think I stepped into the cross and then threw the left head kick over. But yeah, it was a good, satisfying kick. And
very good matchup as well.
Yeah, it was a good matchup. I think it kind of showed me, although it was a win, there was a lot I can take from that I did take from that to better myself as a fighter. A lot that I learned that I need to improve on, and yeah, it was a really good learning experience.
Yeah, I agree, because when you say to people, "Oh, just one with a high kick," they might just assume you for someone who was just not your level.
Yeah,
but that kid brought it to you.
The last 3 fights I have had have all been top.
Yeah, even the last one on Hamdi's show.
Even on Hamdi's show in September, it was a different type of fight. He came in a lot, grabbed a lot, and he liked to be in a really close range, and I don't really fight like that, so it was kind of a really good learning experience. Again, he was a strong kid.
He made it a little bit messy.
He made it messy, and not every fight's going to be, you know, like a picture perfect fight, or you're going to land a knockout, a head kick, or, you know, you're just going to be dominating. But that fight was a real wake-up call to kind of, you know, realize that not everyone's in a fight you the same, and he came with a different approach. It didn't really work out for him, but it was good to kind of, you know, see what different fighters will try against you and see what they can do.
I think what I was really impressed by in that fight was your footwork.
Yeah,
your footwork, the way you're switching angles, you're landing some nice uppercuts, and that's one thing that we were practicing for ages in fight camp, just that little angle, and you're pulling that off in a fight. Most people forget, like, sometimes you might be able to pull off a technique in training so many times. Like, you may have to pull it off. You may be able to pull it off like 100 times, but when it comes to fight night, you might not be able to even get close to pulling a technique off.
Yeah.
So you gotta practice for, like, you have to be able to pull it off like thousands of times. So like being able to like switch and land the shots like that, it just shows that you're taking the elements of training into your fights. We also spoke about you coaching. So at the moment you coach obviously for Axon martial arts, and you doing the kids classes, and I think they all love you because my nieces and nephews train with you. They always look forward to training, and they always mention your name because they just love being in the environment, and to me that's super great to see. And on top of that, you're also involved in the fight camps a lot, as well as like helping myself, Zishan, Dog, Emily, you know, plan training sessions and bring an element of your own experience into the for the younger fighters and for people like Hisham and Demon. And how have you found coaching now, because you've done it for almost a year now, right?
Yeah, about a year. I've been enjoying it a lot, especially the kids class. I know they're not training to fight or anything like that, but it's good to see a lot of the kids that originally came a year ago that are still here now. They're a lot more confident. We have some honestly amazing kids there, and they trained really hard, and they've got amazing technique. Honestly, when I was 7, 8, I wasn't throwing combos like that, or the technique wasn't nowhere on par to what they are doing. So.
And that's a testament to your coaching.
Yeah,
because I did the grading for them yesterday, and I was holding pads and stuff, and some of them really surprised me. Especially with how crisp their technique was, how fast and powerful they were as well. So
I don't like playing favourites, but I think Annabelle. She's one of the best, I think, there when it comes to technique, and she's always like switched on every lesson. Very powerful. Yeah. Very powerful.
I could tell that she just really lives for it. She just really loves it. She also does like personal training with Emily now because she wants to like just get really good at it, and that's really good to see. And I know Rian and her dad are really, really supportive as well. So that's what it's about ultimately, isn't it? Just passing on the skills.
The good thing about the kids class also is you know, just having experience with different coaches, and you know, going to seminars when I was younger with Paul, and like even most recently, a couple of months back, I did a seminar with Phil Glover, and I took a lot from that. And being able to use it in the kids' class and see how they enjoy it, because it is about obviously kickboxing at the end of the day, but it's good to, you know, bring in some fun elements and show them, you know, some spinning kicks. And even at the end, we always finish off with some sort of game. It builds teamwork, communication. And now at the start, the kids didn't even know each other's names, and now they know each other's names, they're friends, and I think it's really good for all of them.
And they do like glove drills and stuff together.
Yeah. Just a couple of months back, we started glove drills, which is very difficult to do with kids.
5-year-olds and
5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, trying to get them to almost like square up to each other, get in their fight stance, and pad each other almost. And you know yourself, like padding's not easy.
It's a skill by itself.
Yeah, anyone who does kickboxing or boxing, they know padding's difficult. And for these kids to be able to pad each other and you know, get used to having someone in front of you in a fight stance is really benefiting them, and they're really enjoying it now.
Yeah. I've been surprised every time I come in with how fast they've been improving.
Yeah.
So you said that when you went to Phil Grover's seminar, you learned a few things from that, and you've also been doing training sparring at different gyms, and you're also now obviously part of the team ISK in England. You'll be fine in Germany in October representing Team England, which is amazing. It's great, and I'm super proud of you for that. You had your first session at Mick Crossland's gym the other day at the Combat Academy. How did you find it?
It was a really good session. There was a lot of good fighters in there. Some of the team already are like amateur world champions.
Is it like a massive team?
It was quite a big team. I would say about 30-40 people were in that room. From like anywhere from maybe 7-8 to, I don't know, they had some veterans in there too, but which would have been like 35 plus, and so there was a lot of people in there. The experience of the fighters there varied. There was people that probably first time competing in any type of, you know, international tournament. I've never competed internationally as well. There was people in there that might not had tens of fights. They might have only had 10, 15, or some people in there had 30, 40 plus. So it was really good to, you know, mix in with a group of people like that. It was good to learn off Mick. He's a really good coach. He really understands the game and has a lot of good ideas. And I'm just looking forward to training with him more as well. And obviously there's things that I can take back from them sessions and use for our own sessions. I found it really good. I did find it really interesting, like sparring with different people. They had some full contact fighters there too. Some of them would be competing full contact in Germany. I'll be doing K1, and it was good to kind of, you know, spar with different people, because we're always used to sparring with, you know, the same people at the gym, and we get used to being a bit lazy in some aspects, because you know that Demon might not be able to head kick me all the time, but he'll find a way sometimes. Sometimes I might be lazy with my guard because of that, and like fighting with other people, sparring with other people kind of switches your brain back on. And
when you know someone's style so well, it makes it difficult to stay focused. It makes it difficult for you to stay on your toes. But the sparring between you boys recently that I've seen at the gym is just gone to another level, and it's really good to see, because we don't spar to hit each other all the time, but we spar to pull off techniques that we always train and drills that we've been doing. And every time I see you guys spar, it looks like you're pulling things up that we're working on, and to me that's progress. That's the win. Sometimes I see you and Demon, for example, spar, or like you or Hisham and Demon, or Miles. You got Miles coming up. We got like really almost like a small but solid group of boys that always want to help each other and push each other. And sometimes I watch you guys spar, and I'm just like, I just feel I get this sense of achievement that this is the boys are just coming in and they've made such massive progress, because we obviously started the gym in the midst of a pandemic, so it was not consistent. But now for the last year, it feels like it's finally all coming together, and everybody's playing their role, and it's really good to see. Do you have anyone that you looked up to when you was younger that really was kind of like your hero, and perhaps still is your hero?
within like the fighting game, or
within the fight, within sports in general.
sports,
I'd say.
So like with my dad growing up watching martial art movies and things like that, he also watched a lot of K1, the original K1 in Japan, the tournament style, and at that time I think Badr Hari was probably one of the best, like from 2006 to 2009.
Been around for years.
Yeah, he's been around for years, and at that time I think he was fighting at heavyweight, and I think I remember watching him versus Alistair, and he wasn't like the best of influences, this outside of fighting life, but he was good to watch in the ring because he had a really good style, and he always tried to like finish the fight.
And he was a little bit smaller than the heavyweights then.
Yeah, it was a little bit smaller at that time. Maybe he wasn't taking some of that juice, but it was good to watch him. Even Remy at that time.
Boniaski.
Yeah,
he was one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite also, and
they used to call him the flying gentleman.
Yeah.
The flying knee, flying kicks.
And then that's Sammy Shield.
Sammy Shield too.
He was really good, big lad. But it was good to watch them guys because it was it showed me what martial arts can get you to a level like that, and it was always interesting watching them. So they were quite a big influence on me younger. And I'll probably say like Jet Li and Jackie Chan, watching their movies, that interested me a lot because obviously when I first started...
What about Steven Seagal?
Steven Seagal, not so much. I don't think I've ever seen a Steven Seagal movie.
I don't think you should ever watch one.
I've heard a lot about him, but but when it comes to these, some people won't really like call them proper martial artists or fighters or whatever, but like watching Jackie Chan and Jet Li and seeing them do techniques in movies, it was really interesting because it's like, oh, I can do that now, like going to Paul's place and learning, I don't know, like a spinning
you could try it at home.
And then coming back and then seeing it on TV and seeing it in movies or in fights, it kind of like...
I mean, Jet Li and Jackie Chan are definitely martial artists.
Yeah, definitely martial artists, definitely. And you can't take anything away from them, even if they haven't competed in the ring or whatever. Their technique, the way they move is incredible.
Yeah. So describe to me your worst performance, if you have one in mind.
Yeah, my worst performance would have been as an amateur junior fighting Ross from Scotland. I think that must have been like my 5th or 6th fight, and going into that I was undefeated, and I felt quite comfortable because building up your fight record and just knowing that you're undefeated, you come in the fight kind of little big headed. And I learned a lot from that because, like you mentioned earlier, the conditioning wasn't there. Some aspects of training wasn't there. So when I went into the fight, at the start, first 3 rounds, I felt okay. He was quite tall. I think he must have been at least like 2 inches taller than me. Had a really good 1-2, and I kept getting caught with it. And I didn't do anything else to try not to get hit by it. Didn't really have head movement. I remember what went well in that fight would have been my inside leg kick, because I'm a southpaw and he was orthodox. You could just throw that left inside kick. That worked quite well, and then I was landing some good shots when I was going in. But then like halfway through the third or towards the end of the third, I was just gassing out. I couldn't really put on the pace.
That's because of your conditioning? Conditioning,
100%, because that wasn't there. I wasn't doing almost anything in the 4th and 5th. I was just standing.
I don't think at that time you were ever running at all.
No, I didn't even incorporate running into the fights. So it was just training kickboxing 3-4 times a week and not learning anything new per se, or not actively learning and getting conditioning in. And then, like I said, 4th and 5th, I was just almost a standing punch bag at that point. Lost that fight. And it was, if you look back at it, I knew from the moment we were about to get our hands raised, whoever won, that I knew I've lost.
You could have
done more. And then I think I was a bit out of my depths in that fight. I remember prior to that, I was supposed to fight someone else, and it was going to be more of an area title fight, but there was pullouts and things got rearranged. And I remember Farad, who was where we were training previously, AFK, he said to me, "There's this fighter from Scotland. He's I think at the time he was a Scottish champion, and it was kind of a risk to take, but I took it, and I'm glad I did. I wouldn't say that I wish I didn't take that fight or I wish I fought someone else.
No, I mean, you learned so much from that fight.
I learned so much from that fight, and that was the biggest wake-up call when it comes to fighting, because I was getting hit with some hard 1-2s, and I remember after that fight, I was blowing my nose out, and a lot of blood came out, and all this and that, and I just thought to myself, you know what, if I don't, improve and focus on my conditioning, my skills are only going to get me to a certain place. It's not going to get me any further.
The thing is, I feel like if you won that fight, even if it was difficult, you probably would have gone home and thought, I won the fight. There's not much I need to do to improve.
I would have probably said, you know what, it was tough, but I won. I don't need to do anything else.
How did you deal with your first loss mentally?
It was a little difficult because prior to that, I didn't lose at K1, and I did lose in full contact in continuous, but because in them type of rule set, you don't really fight in front of loads of people. In full contact you do, but like continuous, it's a mat. There's loads of mats lined about, loads of rings. There's
like
only there's a set amount of people watching you at a time. Yeah. Everyone's surrounded around the fights as well. So having everyone just focused on watching you in the fight and then you losing, and I think that was one of my first few fights where I had a lot of people down. I had a lot of people from college. I think I was 16 at that time.
Your first title fight?
Yeah, first title fight, 16 at that time. I had a lot of people from college, had a lot of family down from all over the country, and it was kind of embarrassing because the biggest part was not knowing that I didn't do my all, to give it my all.
You beat yourself over.
I was beating myself, thinking, you know what, I should have ran, I should have done this, but I didn't make any excuses for that. A lot of people would have said, you know what, it's because I didn't run, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I don't think any of my losses have come out and said, you know what, trying to justify it or make excuses. Yeah. And it was really good learning experience, and it was good fighting, good level opponents that early on in my fight career.
For sure. I mean, that's what makes you a better fighter. If you head kicked everyone and dropped them in every fight, you don't really learn much. And when you start fighting people who are better than you, you really struggle.
Definitely.
And it's good to get that experience from early on. And I don't ever, back when we used to train at AFK as well, you never really said a no to a fight to Farad. And now that we train at Axon, you never say no to me about a fight.
No, I've never said no to you about a fight. I think with Farad there was this one fight that I had to say no. That was a week after the Ross's fight. He said there was a fight in Liverpool, and it was against one of Kevin Ward's fighters. Yeah. And I would have took the fight, but coming out of that fight, I was a bit, battered, and it was a 5-round fight, my first 5-round, and I've always had a bit of a foot issue with my left foot, because I kick a lot in my fights, and I always, end up messing up my foot. So I had to heal a little bit, And even last, I think it was 2 years ago now, the first road to Mathai Grand Prix at Sheffield, I proper messed up my foot that night. Threw a lot of left kicks, and they were hard.
That won you the fight.
Yeah, it won me the fight, and after I was limping, and I remember we went to get food after, we went to get burgers and whatnot, and I was limping all that way, and then the next day, it was like 5 a.m, 6 a.m, and I woke up, and I was just in pain, and it was just from my bed sheet over my foot. Ooh. Just that slight little pressure. Yeah. My foot was in pain, and then I rang my mum because I couldn't get out of bed. I was like, I need to go A&E because I've messed my foot up, and then found out I broke my foot, and then after that it was a bit of it took a while for recovery, to be fair, because I remember for a good 8 months still I had to be a bit wary of my foot.
Yeah, I remember you didn't kick for a long time.
It a little bit. Yeah, we were doing a lot of boxing stuff, but you know what? I'm glad we kind of still worked around that, because then it gave me time to work on my boxing, and all my last fights, my hands have just been improving, and
definitely, you're punching like a boxer now.
Yeah, definitely. And before I was just relying on my hands just to kick, just to set up kicks, and now I can be comfortable with just throwing shots with my hands, and I think it really showed in my last fight as well, just being more comfortable with just throwing hands.
Yeah. And so that you'd say that was your worst performance, even though you
definitely.
took so many lessons from it and it transitioned you into a better fighter.
Yeah.
What would you say is your best performance?
My best performance would probably be my last one. That was in November, I think, last year. I fought a kid from Portugal. He was a really good fighter. I can't remember his record, but
I think it was 8-0.
He had some sort of good record. He had a winning record either way,
Yeah.
but he came from Portugal. He came from a top team. Their team just fought on the Taekwondo Grand Prix in London, the last one, and they cleared house. I think they only had one loss out of 5-6 fighters. A very good camp, very professional as well. So that was a 5-round fight. It was for European title, K1 rules. I think 78 kg before that. The weight cut wasn't too hard. I did a little water cut with you guys, and then fight night I felt quite comfortable.
You look very, very relaxed.
I was relaxed. I had a lot of people down for that one too, and I think that helps. When you have family there and having friends and everyone there to support you, it kind of helps you to push in that fight.
And also you said you're a performer, so the more people are watching.
Yeah, 100%. And there was a lot of people there, and I just knew that, I've got to go in there. Everyone's watching me. Waj is there too, and Waj, he does the promotion for the Road to Matai Grand Prix up north in Sheffield. So there's a lot of eyes on me, and I just knew I had to make a statement and, try my very best in that fight. And we went in first round. I was extremely nervous. I just was a bit scared almost in that first round, because he was a big guy. He was big for the weight. I remember thinking, how did he kind of make 78 kg?
He was very strong.
He was very strong. He had thick legs. He was very wide. Height-wise, about similar. He was slightly shorter. But I was trying to keep my distance in that first round and just land clean shots, keep him away. My side kick worked amazing in that fight. Always landed. Never had an issue with it. I must have landed about 7-8 side kicks throughout the fight. And that helped to kind of restart the pace, because what I was worried about in that fight was him coming forward and just throwing big bombs. And I would say I've had my chin tested before, but not really. And I was just kind of have I got a chin? Or you start questioning yourself a little bit. But after I took a few shots from him, I realized, he's not too different from anyone else.
Yeah.
So I just kind of playing it a bit more comfortable in the ring, threw a lot more combos, and I finished the first round on a high. I definitely won the first round. Went back in the corner, and like I said, with having crowd there was amazing, because there was moments in that fight where if I didn't have support, I probably would have crumbled in some aspects of it, because it just helped me to push on and just carry on landing shots, and just hearing everyone cheering for you. You just want to carry on landing more and not just stop at 1-2 combos. So yeah, going back in the corner was good. Took some advice from you, Demon, and Zishan. Went back in the second and third round was pretty similar to the first. I kept my distance, landed long shots. I worked, I think, in the third round. My left kick was working really well. I had him at a corner once.
The inside left kick as well.
Inside left kick, yeah. And I landed a really good left kick under his shoulder, right where his guard was. And that made him wince a little bit. And I thought, he's that human now.
Yeah.
And the first 3 rounds were close. I won, I would say, that first 3.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would have said I won the first 3 rounds. And then the championship rounds, they were very close. He got a lot more comfortable with landing shots, and he was applying the pressure a lot more than he was in the first 3. But I was moving still quite well.
Your footwork was very good, and he still had good defense. He wasn't getting.
I wasn't really getting hit with clean shots. Even after the fight, I had small light bruising, but I bruised quite easily. Even after sparring, we could just do light sparring, and I'll have a slight bruise. But I was moving around very well. Side kicks were working really well. He had a really good leg kick. I remember feeling that, and he kind of slowed me down a little bit. And he was landing some good shots when he was inside, because he was working. He was just throwing as much as he could. But finishing the fight, I thought I won, and I think everyone thought I won as well. All the support there.
I mean, it was a very good competitive close fight.
Yeah.
But if I was scoring that fight, it might sound biased, but I thought you won 3 rounds.
Yeah. One of the judges gave it to me. The other 2 judges gave it to him, so it was a split decision. Just waiting for the result. I was stood there and I just, I knew I won. I just thought I won. I just knew I did everything I could do in that fight. I fought the cleanest. I did better techniques in the fight, and under the new rules, I think that was the unified kickboxing rules.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, judging sometimes.
Judging can be so subjective. It depends on what
they prefer.
What they look for. Some people might value aggression more than spectacular techniques or this and that. But the only thing I would say he had on me the whole fight would be aggression.
Yeah.
But
he was very game.
He was very game, and you know what? Coming from abroad, if you know you're gonna fight someone abroad, don't think it's gonna be an easy fight, and think I'm in my home country, I'm in my hometown, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work like that. They come out full force, full aggression. They're just gonna want to take the win. They've got nothing to lose at that point. He had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And so he fought well. It was a tough fight, and you know what? I'm not going to complain about that fight. Even after, when we went backstage, there was nothing to complain about that fight.
Yeah.
There was a lot that we had to still work on from that fight. Although it was a really good performance, there was a lot of things that I did wrong in the fight. A lot of things leading up to that fight that I could have changed. And we spoke after about that fight, and we're just on a road to improve from the mistakes we made in that. But it was just, again, a good learning experience.
Yeah.
First time fighting someone abroad that came from abroad.
With very good experience.
Yeah, very good experience. And it helps with, a lot of people in kickboxing, they turn pro too early. They have less than 10 amateur fights and they turn pro, especially at the heavier weight classes.
You're still young, you're not,
Yeah, I'm 21. There's no rush to turn pro. I could turn pro this year and, get a contract with, Muay Grand Prix or one of these promotions and, just fight and I'll do well. But it's about the experiences you can get as an amateur. You can't really get them as a pro. Being able to go to Germany, for example, in this year for the ISK tournament, you can't really do that as a pro. You can't just, get yourself in a tournament abroad.
And some of these pro fighters have fought as a junior for years.
Yeah, 100%. All these fighters abroad, they have fought amateur a long time at a high level. But for some reason in the UK, people want to turn pro after 5, 6, 7 fights.
It just looks nice to fight.
It just looks nice to fight without shin pads, or just say you're a pro fighter and get sponsors and walk around a little different. But being amateur, competing at a high level, even yourself, you fought loads of fights as amateur, and you know what? You probably wouldn't. You regret it. You'd probably think, I should have done that. And
but there's some really, really high level amateur fights. If you get to that level, but most people don't get to that level. They just want to turn pro.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen amateur fights and a lot of pro fights on pro level in the UK.
No,
and
I agree.
There's fighters. I'm not going to mention names or stuff, but I've seen pro fighters fight for area titles, English titles against journeymen.
Yeah.
And there's the pro game, you've got to bring something to the table. You got to bring, Demon, for example, is now signed with Muay Grand Prix, and he brings that excitement, that raw fighting style. He's a fighter at heart, really. And ever since he's fought, he's always just been down to scrap.
Yeah.
And he's got heart, and he'll go far. And although he's not had hundreds of amateur fights or whatever, he's had enough experience and he's got a good team around him. But he brings that's what he brings to the table. Aggression and an exciting fight. And you know what? At the end of the day, promoters need to sell tickets. They need to have people there. They need fighters who are exciting, and he ticks all them boxes.
100%.
But there's fighters that have never won titles as an amateur, have never done it much as an amateur, and they'd straight away go into the pro ranks, and they don't do well.
No.
But
it kind of puts the game at a lower level when you see stuff when you see two or really a good pro fighting a really, really shit journeyman, because there are good journeymen out there that come into bank.
They are good. They are definitely, they are some good journeymen.
To change the topic a little bit, because I know your dad for years. He's always been around. He's been supporting you for a long time. And from what I know of you and from the videos and stuff I've seen, your family seems to be very, very supportive.
Yeah.
And for your kickboxing and your career, how has that helped you stay committed, motivated, and turn up to sessions?
It's very important. I remember at the start, once I turned, like into a teenager, I was 13, 14, you just want to hang around with your friends and go out and, get up to no good, and just, kind of sometimes you get in with the wrong crowd. But especially like my dad and, like my older cousins, they've always kept me grounded. I've always tried to stay with, good company. Especially my dad, like there were sessions like when I was younger I didn't really want to go to. I just wanted to, hang out with my cousins or with friends. My dad was like, you have to go, you need to stay committed. Or leading up to my black belt, for example, I might have not, trained the best for it leading up to it, and my dad would always force me, you know what, you've got this coming up, you need to train hard. Even out up to the fights, my dad's like, you got a fight in 3 weeks, you need to carry on.
He's still on your case.
This is on my case about food, diet, everything. He's on my case, and it's good to have someone like that, because I can, just go into this fight and not train hard and do all, not be a fighter leading up to a fight, and I'll still feel good leading up to the fight, because in my head, I know my level, but your levels are not going to get you anywhere, your skills are not going to get you anywhere. It's about the hard work that you put into the fight.
One thing I really like about your dad, like as a coach, is your dad just knows his role. He's very supportive. He trusts the coaches. He trusts yourself. And whenever we spoke about you after your fight or whatever, he always has like an element of. He always brings in a good element. He's not the case of.
He has a good understanding.
He has a good understanding of the game, and he just lets the coaches do their business. Because there are some parents that you deal with where they haven't really done it before. Yeah. They try to get too involved in the wrong way. Because I think sometimes if you're not an expert at something and you take someone you love and you're trying to get him into the sport, you want them to do the best. So you gotta know yourself. You got to know that I'm not in the right position to give this sort of advice on. I don't know what I'm talking about, so let me just shut up and let the coach do it.
I think the key part is like the parents having trust in the coach, and like you, for example, you're a ISK English champion. You won titles at 2 different weight classes, and you've got that experience behind you. And even Zishan's had experience in the ring. He's got good experience when it comes to the conditioning side of it, the mindset, the fight preparation. So my dad has like complete trust in you guys, and I think that's a key part, because at the end of the day, as a parent, you don't really want your kid to go in there and just take shots to the head or compete like how we do. But because he has trust in you guys, he just doesn't need to say anything, because he knows that you guys are on my case about certain things, and he has a good understanding about like you said, the fight game. Like after the fight, he'll come and say, you
probably all the Jackie Chan movies.
He's like, you should have kept your distance a bit more, you should have threw your kick a bit more. And he understands like how the judges look at it, because my dad's one of the biggest critiques of myself. Like I critique myself a lot, but he won't hype me up to no one. He won't say,
tells you how it is.
He's this and that. He'll say the opposite. He'll go, he does this, he does that. He won't say, he won't praise me as much. But I think every dad's like that. Yeah. But
it's because he expects so much from you.
He expects a lot, but I know he's happy, and he'll deep down he's proud of me, I'd say. And
I think that's a fact.
He's really happy.
I think it's, to you might not be as evident, but it's pretty evident that your dad is super proud of you.
I think he has I'm the only son as well, and I think you kind of build a bond, as a man to like your son. Yeah. So I think he's still got that bond with me, and even now he's still interested in like not what I'm doing, but like what the gym's doing and what the fighters and what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, one thing he said to me after your fight that you lost, the 5-rounder. He came up to me and goes, Uzzy needs more conditioning. I was like, you're damn right he does. You know what I mean? And the other fight you had where, I can't remember which fight it was, but I remember he came over to me and he said, oh, you did really well, but I think you should get back to kicking a bit more. And I was like, you know what? Uzzy, your dad is right. You need to go back to Taekwondo a bit more. Yeah, definitely. So like he definitely knows. Because he watched you compete, and he watched you train for so many years. He knows what you're about and your strengths and weaknesses. So, is there any sort of this sounds like a proper generic question, but is there any sort of advice or pointers you'd give anybody around your age or even younger than you that want to get into kickboxing and martial arts in general?
Yeah, I would say, especially like around my age, that there's no like age limit on martial arts or even competing. Like there's fighters that started competing really late into like the 20s or early 20s, mid 20s. You don't really need to be like a junior prospect to become anything in this sport. You can, like Demon started 3-4 years ago, and he's already pro now. So you don't have to be like how I started, from 7 years old. So don't feel like uncomfortable coming to a gym because you're older and you might think, there's people that are better than me. If you go to a good gym, you find a good gym, no one will care if you've competed before. Everyone will help. And like even us guys at our gym, when new people come in, they always get taught, not just by us, by Demon, Hisham will leave and help out if he can. Anyone that's been at the gym long enough or for even a couple of months will try to help the best that they can with someone new. So there's no need to feel like a bit uncomfortable at like going into a gym and trying to learn something. And then like if you do have young kids or anything like that, or younger siblings, I would encourage taking them to kickboxing, taekwondo, any type of martial art, because it'll help with their confidence, it'll help with their behaviour and discipline. And do you know what, looking back at it, if I didn't go to taekwondo when I was younger or come to kickboxing, I wouldn't have the discipline to be the type of person I am now.
Because you apply it to life.
You apply it to life 100%, and it helps with things because it works within your working life as well, and your personal life. You just gotta keep working at things. You can't just give up at any tough time, or when you find something difficult within kickboxing, or you hit a roadblock. You can't do that in life as well. So it teaches you a lot of valuable lessons, and I think it's key to implement them in children as well, because it'll build a lot of people who probably started from young, and the people they are now are probably one of the best people
Of course. And I think also the thing about martial arts is being able to just commit to something outside of school, for example, something that's besides school, something that you're interested in. Because I know I've had, when I was a teenager, when I was in college, or even like in school, I had days where say you do really bad in school, or you do really bad in college, or you just have a shit day in general. At least I knew when it hit 7 o'clock, I'm going to be in that gym hitting pads, doing something that I love to do. If all else fails, you still have something that you could do every day that you love. And I think that's very important for people as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing as well, I like what you said about martial arts having no age limit, because it doesn't matter what age you start, whether you're young, whether you're old, there's always something in it for you. And sometimes for me, martial arts is less, where even though we're fighters and we're coaches and whatnot, and fighting is a big element of the sport, to me, the most important side of the sport is a sense of community that people get. Obviously, with that comes being able to interact with different people, getting to know people, making friends, but as well as building a skill, being committed to something, and building the confidence that you could actually start something and finish it and get good at something as well. So that's one of the best things that I would say to people as well. If you want to get into martial arts, or any sort of sport, just make that first step and go to the gym. And if you're lucky enough to go to a good gym, you'll be very, very welcomed, which is like 9 out of 10 martial arts gyms are going to be like that. But if you so happen to go to one martial arts gym and they're not very welcoming, don't let that put you off, please. There's always going to be a good gym out there for you. You just have to make that first step. And that's very difficult, and that's understandable.
I think for people who are a bit older, what makes it easier is friends, like having someone that maybe is already in martial arts, or having a friend who's interested in wanting to go as well. And it kind of, builds a little more, comfort with you, because that he's starting off his first session too, and you both can work together and it becomes more comfortable. But like you said, all 9 out of 10 martial art gyms are friendly, and there'll be people there to help you and support you, so you're not going to feel like, the odd one out in a session or not know what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. So Uzzy, I'm going to finish off with something fun that I do with everyone, is a rapid fire questions. The idea is you don't think about the questions too much. And when you say something, I might ask you a few questions just to elaborate on it a little bit. So, the first question I've got. If you could go to dinner with any celebrity, who would it be?
Van Damme.
Van Damme.
Yeah.
Okay, good choice. You might do splits before the food arrives.
Yeah.
Just under the table. If you could find any celebrity, who would it be?
Van Damme. Yeah, no, because he's kick heavy, and like I kick a lot as well, and it'll just be interesting to kind of spar him or fight him.
Okay, pad work or sparring?
Pad work.
Strength training or endurance?
Endurance. I don't prefer endurance. I prefer strength, but endurance is you can't beat it. You can increase your strength quite quick, but you can't increase your endurance quickly. You gotta work at that and build up your heart rate and everything.
Okay, John Jones or GSP?
GSP.
Buakaw or Sanchai?
Sanchai.
Elbows or knees?
Knees.
What's your workout song?
I've had the same workout song for how long now? About 6-7 years, and it's that Tupac Ambitions of a Rider.
Classic.
I've not changed it once. I've always had the same one. I've just keep people. It's an inside joke in my family as well. Like my cousins have said, you need the new workout song. Keep playing the same
song
one.
that keeps you going. That's it. It's a banger.
Yeah.
What was the last movie you watched?
I think it was I can't even remember, to be fair. I think it was in cinemas, and it was good. Actually, no, that's a lie. I watched the new Scream movie.
Oh, how was that?
Yeah, it was good. I don't mind like horror movies. It wasn't too much of a horror. It's more of like a slasher film. But it was fun. It was a fun movie. Yeah.
Favorite fighter of all time?
I'd probably say it'd be Benny the Jet. He fought above the waist. I think he might have had a few K1 if I'm not mistaken, but mainly above the waist. He had like 40, 50 fights. I think he only lost once, and he fought a lot of Thai guys as well. And he's just got a really a really flashy style, and he kicks a lot. He has really good boxing, and I had the pleasure of training with him a couple of years back.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was a good.
When was that?
It was at the UK Martial Arts Show in Doncaster. I think it must have been like a good 4 years ago now.
Have you seen his scene with Jackie Chan?
Yeah.
What
really
a fight.
good.
It goes on for ages.
Yeah, that scene just carries on.
Okay, Jet Li or Jackie Chan?
Jet Li. I know he hasn't been as active recently in movies, but his early movies are amazing.
What's your favorite Jet Li movie?
Sorry?
What's your
Jet Li
favorite?
one?
Yeah.
The One.
I was going to say The One.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
And I'm nobody's bitch. Alright, side kicks or push kicks?
Side kicks. All day, every day.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Taekwondo guy. Boxing or kicking?
You know what? I'd say kicking, but I'm really enjoying boxing recently, and I think there's something about being able to punch someone like in a close boxing range rather than kicking. It just gives a bit more adrenaline, and I've been enjoying it a lot more. But definitely kicking.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Either. Okay, Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson?
I think Muhammad Ali. I think Mike Tyson was a really entertaining fighter, but I think Muhammad Ali had more than boxing. Yet outside of the ring, he's always been a good influence, and I'm not taking anything away from Mike Tyson, but I think there's a lot more that you can learn off Muhammad Ali than
just
Mike
as a
Tyson.
human being as
yeah,
well.
definitely.
I mean, you could learn so much from Tyson too.
Yeah, of course, but Muhammad Ali he bred a huge generation of new fighters, and his the way he moved as a heavyweight, and I don't think there's many fighters that have done that since, apart from like Tyson Fury, but he has amazing footwork and movement.
Yeah, I mean, he's a GOAT.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any hobbies outside of kickboxing?
I've been enjoying hiking recently,
Have you?
and just walking along trails, and obviously in Sheffield there's Peak District. There's a lot of places you can go to just to walk and, you know, experience, you know, the scenery and views up there. But I've been enjoying that a lot, and it kind of takes, you know, away from, you know, life at the moment, you know, living in a social media heavy world where everyone's got on their phone and they're just, you know, taking pictures of everything they do every second. It's just kind of good to get outside of that and, you know, get into the real world and, you know, experience some fresh air and see real life.
When I was speaking to Will on a podcast, I asked him, you know, because we're fighters and we train all the time, you kind of forget to switch off sometimes. I asked him what he does to switch off, because I assume it would be the same for every athlete. Is there anything that you do, especially if fight comes, to try and relax and maybe get an early night, to rest up a little bit? Because it's such an important part of the sport that most people forget about.
Yeah, it's very hard to switch off, and especially like with myself, my YouTube feed is just full with fighting things, fighting breakdowns.
You're like a fighting nerd, aren't you?
Yeah, I love watching all sorts of, literally from boxing to MMA to Muay Thai to anything and everything. But even bare knuckle recently, I've been watching a lot of that. But it's good to kind of, you know, constantly learn. But there are times where you need to switch off, and I think I do enjoy playing video games, and I've got an Xbox, so I tend to play a lot of FIFA and Forza and games, and then like what I mentioned earlier with hiking, and that helps a lot. Also family, because I talk about fighting a lot, even leading up to the gym. When me and Demon and Hisham always come to the gym, we're always talking about something to do with fighting or things like that, so it's good to kind of get away from it. And, you know, my family have been good at that. My dad talks about fighting a lot too, but you know, my cousins, I spend a good amount of time with them, and I don't think there's a lot of people who have got a good bond with their cousins like I do, and I think it's a good blessing, because they're really down to earth, and they hate when I talk about fighting.
You know, like,
because they like me fighting, and they'll watch UFC and things like that, but day to day they won't talk about fighting, and it's good to switch off and talk about, you know, things in the real world.
It could get really tiring, especially when you see someone you've not seen for a long time. So how's your fighting going?
Yeah.
I mean, you appreciate it because they're interested in knowing what you're up to, but it just gets kind of tiring, especially when you're training twice a day and, you know, watching videos, trying to learn and stuff like that. But Uzzy, I think I basically pretty much asked everything I wanted to ask, so thank you so much for coming, and I'll be there obviously on the 27th of May for you to whoop some ass.
Definitely.
Let's go, sir. Yes.